my god! Monkey! Monkey go boom! Monkey go boom! What the fuck is going on, bro? What's up, everybody? So we got some really good feedback on the Diablo 4 Infinite Mana Sorcerer build video that I put together. I will have a link to that video in the description of this video. So I'm going to do a very similar detailed video about the Druid build that you just saw, which is essentially an infinite spirit build in many situations. But before we get to that, we do have a quick word from the sponsor of the video, GameStop. So if you head over to GameStop.com and you click on the menu button and you scroll down to the pre-owned games, you will see a whole list of games that GameStop has available for you for much cheaper than you would pay for full price. There are thousands and thousands of games for under $20, many titles current and old. So if you've been looking to catch up on some games that you've been meaning to play for years, now's the perfect time. And even more, you can take in all of your old games into GameStop and you can trade them in. And from right now until July 1st, there's a special promotion where whatever value of games that you trade in, you get an additional 20% towards the purchase or the pre-purchase of Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4, or Final Fantasy 16. And GameStop Pro members get an additional 30% on top of that. So head over to GameStop.com, check out the website, and I will have a link to the website in the description of this video. All right, let's get to the Druid build. Werebear. Let's talk about the build. First of all, this is a huge work in progress. I'm still level 70. I'm still leveling up in World Tier 4. I'm still finding gear. And I want to point out that, you know, this is a very popular build to my understanding. I haven't had a lot of time to watch in detail like a bunch of other streamers or YouTubers or whatever, but from my chat I hear that the bear build, the werebear build, is pretty popular. So I have not like by any means revolutionized or invented any type of build with werebear. I just simply chose all of the bear skills, and I'm just going to show you guys like my iteration of it and what works for me, because it's actually working really well and it's starting to come together. So similar, if you didn't see my sorcerer video, I figured out a way to have just infinite mana with lucky hit, where essentially nothing ever gets consumed and you're generating mana faster. And I wanted to do the same thing with werebear, but I noticed that it was going to be a lot harder because you don't have the lucky hit built into the subclass and Paragon board that you do have with, what's it called, sorcerer. So, you know, but it works, and I'll explain. So we're going to start with the skill tree. And by the way, yes, I am back on keyboard and mouse if I do make this into a video, which I probably will. I tried controller for a little bit. It's nice. Controller feels great on the game, but keyboard and mouse is king. All right, we're grabbing so you would start off with Storm Spike, and I'll explain why I switched to Earth Spike a little bit down the road, okay? But you would normally level with Storm Spike and put on the vulnerability for Fierce Storm Strike, and I used that all the way up until like level 50 something. But we're using Earth Spike out to Wild Earth Spike just because I think this is better. Why not summon extra damage? We're grabbing Pulverize. So Pulverize is our main damage dealer, and I didn't want to use this. I tried using other things. I tried using Landslide. You know, it's just because I heard that this was meta, and I heard a lot of people were using this, but it's so fucking good. I can't help but use it because it's so good. So I'm using Pulverize. Max this bitch out, and I prefer to use the Overpower because the survivability on this build is insane. But you could use the reduced damage primal if you wanted to be even more of a tank, but I don't think you really need it. We're maxing these two nodes out, so your basic skills generate more spirit, and also your core skills do increase damage but cost more spirit, so it kind of levels itself out. And we're grabbing the maximum crit chance because this entire build is about maximizing crit chance and maximizing lucky hit chance, and I'll explain why. We have Iron First for damage reduction while in werebear form. Anytime we basically have damage reduction, we're using it, except for this node. because we get damage reduction from these defensive nodes anyway, like barriers and things like that. So going down here, we're using Earthen Bulwark. We're basically using this for the barrier and to fortify ourselves and as an unstoppable skill. Every time we use it, we can get out of an, if we're CC'd, or we can use it to gather fortify. We're using Debilitating Roar for very similar reasons. We're also reducing the damage that nearby enemies do by 70%. So this can also be like an oh shit button or something you can lead off with to just go absolutely ham. And then Debilitating Roar heals us. We come down here. We did level with Poison because it's the best of the three here. But eventually you're going to switch to Grizzly Rage from Poison. But you'll definitely use Trample. So Trample is very similar to like Teleport kind of. It's a really good skill to get out of danger. It's a really good skill also to do damage, to pinch enemies, to stun them, you know, apply CC. It does decent damage. It's just a pretty fun skill, but I do use it a lot just for kind of movement, engaging, getting out, and it does have Unstoppable as well. Unstoppable is just so important. You want to max this tree so that you get the increased damage to CC'd enemies because you are stunning with Earth Spike. Earth Spike has a chance to stun. You're also critical strikes because we're stacking crit chance. They fortify you, so even more fortification. And this one's pretty much free damage. You should always be fortified. The goal is to just stay fortified as much as possible. So this is why you're fortified for over 50% your maximum life. Free. Your Earth skills deal 12% increased damage. And then this tree is also huge. We're putting 3 into Defiance for 12% damage to elites. We're putting 3 into here for 12% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. We're putting 3 into here for 6% nature damage, and this is tripled if you use a storm skill paired with this. But once again, I'll explain why the earth basic skill is better than storm. And then we're using Circle of Life, which is how we're getting heals every time we cast a nature magic skill. We're literally healing a nature magic skill that consumes spirit, so the basic attack won't work. Grizzly Rage is our ult. And once again, unstoppable. There's a lot of unstoppable in this build, and this will fortify us as well. So everything is like unstoppable, fortification, healing, damage reduction, and that's why this is like the Druid tank build that I've been calling it, or I just call it the Boom Boom Monkey or whatever, because he just looks like a monkey running around. And this is the key right here. So you know, I've been streaming this game all day, 22 hours now, and people keep saying, how the heck are you keeping your spirit up? Earthen Might is another like lucky hit. I love lucky hit in this game. I think it's so interesting. So at any given chance, any of my earth skills, which is why I'm using the basic earth skill, there's a 5% chance to not only restore my entire resource or spirit, but to also cause all of my attacks for 5 seconds to be critical strikes, which is insane damage output. And the damage, the chance that this lucky hit procs is doubled for critical strikes and if the target is stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. We are stacking lucky hit chance. We are getting critical strikes. We are stunning enemies. We are immobilizing. We are knocking them back. We are doing all of these, and we're trying to do them as much as possible so that we can get Earthen Might to proc as much as possible. As far as the Paragon boards, this is a huge work in progress. I just started my 3rd board. I'm not that far here, but here's the big thing that I want to point out: vulnerability via the exploit glyph. This is massive. This means anytime you damage anything with any skill, whenever you are damaging something, you are applying vulnerability to it, and that allows you to get rid of the Storm Strike and slot in the earth basic skill, and that requires the bonus. Then the next board we grabbed was Earthen Devastation. This is pretty much just free 30% increased damage to enemies afflicted by crowd control, which is literally every single enemy all the time, and I will explain why. We grab the damage to crowd control critical strike damage node. We grab the earth skill damage critical strike damage node, and you might see a lot of like, what's the deal with earth skill? You're using Pulverize, which is a werebear. I'll explain all that. We grab the critical strike damage with earth skills. We obviously grab the legendary node, and we grab a little bit of armor here. We don't really grab the potion, we just grab the armor, and then we head out this way. And then the next tree is ancestral guidance, and we're doing that because we're always spending spirit, so we're just pretty much going to have this free 30% damage all the time because we're always casting Pulverize and spamming it. We're going to be grabbing some Spirit on Kill, which is going to be huge, and some Maximum Spirit. And, you know, I still have a lot to figure out, but I think you know, anything that's like healing or potion, I'm not like grabbing, or resistance, I'm not grabbing, but anything that's damage reduction or core skill damage or something super important, we're definitely grabbing that. So I'm probably going to, like, you know, snake through here, grab this, not going to grab that, definitely going to grab this, and then leave one of these nodes. The other boards that I'm going to use, we're going to use this one next, Survival Instinct. When in Werebear form, you deal 1% increased damage up to 50% for every 1% difference in current life percent between you and the enemy. So that means basically, as the enemy gets weaker, you do more damage up to 50%. And the rare nodes front load your damage. They give you increased damage while the enemy is healthy, so you do a huge chunk of damage when the enemy has a lot of health, and then you do even more damage percentage when the enemy gets lower. So I think this tree is just overall really good, and I think this will be good for like boss fights and whatnot. And then the final tree that I'll use will probably be, the only one that I really like is Constricting Tendrils, and I'm probably just going to use it for these. I don't need that, and we'll see. I mean, we might be able to grab it, but there's a lot of like armor, damage to crowd controlled enemies, maximum life, nature magic skill damage, damage to elites, nature magic skill damage. There's a lot of like really good stuff in there that just is better than the rest of the boards. Okay, let's go to our gear. So, you know, we're still leveling. These stats will be much higher in the end. Spirit Boons, 10% reduced damage from elites. I just think that's the best one up here. You could argue that this one would be good, but anytime I can get damage reduction, I put it on always. Damage reduction and armor. Since we're stacking crit chance, I chose to go crit chance here. And then to supplement it, I went with a double boon here for crit damage. Here, I went with another lucky hit, and this is another way that I'm getting spirit back. At any given hit, there's a 15% chance to restore 10 spirit. And then down here, so there's a few different things that you can do. I'm just doing this for a little bit more tankiness and heals because I'm stacking crit. This will heal me for a percentage of my maximum life, but this one is really good, and I was using this one earlier. At this particular moment, I'm just switching it up. This one, any of your nature magic skills will reduce your ultimates skill by 2 seconds. It's also lucky hit, so if you're stacking lucky hit, it's pretty good. You can also put this on instead of this lucky hit. You can stack these two, and then there's a aspect that you can put on a weapon, on a two-handed weapon, or an amulet that increases the duration, and you can essentially have like infinite ultimates if that's your thing. I just don't want to do that. I don't know, I don't want to be like an infinite ultimate form. I just like, you know, the speed of my weapon and whatnot, but it's all preference. That's a really OP build. Okay, so I'll just go over the aspects first. So all these aspects are super important. First one, when you have Fortify, your Earth skills gain +2 rank. You should always have Fortify. Just keep it up. Your defensive abilities are all giving you Fortify. Your Grizzly Rage is giving you Fortify, so you should just always have that. So that's literally free skill rank to your damage dealers, particularly Pulverize. Hey Glad, how the hell is Pulverize all these different things? Core, Earth, Nature Magic, Werebear, Shapeshifting. This is probably the most important thing in the entire build and what makes it all work. Pulverize is now also an Earth skill. Ridiculous. The synergy with the Druid skill tree and the different types of skills is insane. And it's on like another level. And on top of that, not only is Pulverize count as an Earth skill as well, but it also, after casting it, Pulverize tectonic spikes continue to deal X damage over 2 seconds. It's just insane. You basically cast your Pulverize down and you get like landslide spikes that come out of the ground and damage the area. It's ridiculous. So what that does is that turns Pulverize into Earth and Nature Magic, which makes this skill benefit from anything in the skill tree that is Earth, Nature Magic, Werebear, and Shapeshifting. So things like Shapeshifting damage, Werebear skill damage, Earth damage, all of that. And let's not forget about this. So now my basic skill, Earth Spike, and my Pulverize skill are proccing this Earth and Might, which is going to keep refilling my spirit and giving me those crits. Here we have basic skills grant 20% damage reduction. That is just, I didn't really use basic skills with my sorcerer build. Once again, check that video out. So I didn't really look at these. And when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. This is such a good aspect and it's slept on. Apparently it's not slept on, but it's slept on by me. These boots I just got, and these are not necessary. Not necessary, but they do make the build really good because in the abilities tree, every time that we cast a skill that consumes spirit, we're healing ourselves. So we're going to constantly have overshields, fortification, and heals going on with temerity. It just pairs really well. On the boots, we have damage from earth skills, slow enemies. This is absolutely necessary for the build because this is how you're applying a slow and a crowd control on every single hit. And because pulverized is now an earth skill because of this aspect, this makes every pulverized slam, which is your damage dealer, slow enemies and apply CC, and you get all these crazy bonuses. Earth skills deal more critical strike damage to crowd controlled enemies since we're CCing everything. Perfect. I think obedience is one of the best defensive aspects in the whole game. So make sure you put that. I mean, you could put it on the amulet like I did. And these aren't the best rolls because I'm still leveling. You can get like 50%, put it on the amulet, you'll get 75. It gets pretty insane. Then this is another one. It's not necessary, but it's really, really nice. And unfortunately, this is the only one in the entire build that you can't farm in a dungeon. By the way, all of these aspects can be found in dungeons except for the unique. This one you have to find, and I got lucky and I found one. This gives pulverize a shockwave. So when you slam your pulverize down, it sends out this shockwave right in front of you, and it has crazy range, like off your fucking screen kind of range. So it's really good. And then this, I just like this. Every time they hit a crowd controlled enemy, which is every single enemy, I'm getting my primary resource back or my spirit back. So you can see like between the spirit boons and the lucky hit and abilities in the Paragon tree with spirit on kill and the restore primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. This is how I'm essentially build in theory crafting towards like an infinite spirit build, just like I did with the sorcerer. And then on the offhand, your core skills deal up to X% damage based on the amount of fortify. Your fortify should always be max, so this should always be max as well. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? Especially for people watching the video, I know what you're thinking. Glad, why are you using an offhand and a one-handed weapon? Doesn't a two-hand go best with this? Shouldn't you be using a two-hand because it has crowd control damage as the intrinsic? Yes, for sure. I think ultimately, if you wanted to hit the hardest, you would use a two-handed that has damage to crowd controlled because that's just going to add up all your crowd control damage. However, I just choose because I want a couple things. One, I want perks that roll in both of these slots. So I want lucky hit chance and crit strike chance, and that does not roll on a two-handed weapon. Both of those, you have to roll that in an offhand. So you need lucky hit chance and you need crit strike chance, which means by default for my build, the way that I went to work, I have to roll a one-handed weapon. Also, this rolls spirit cost reduction and it rolls cooldown reduction. So it just has a lot of like really good things on the offhand, and I got lucky and I got another lucky hit. So there's a 5% chance on any hit to restore primary resource. So that's how I'm filling up my spirit meter, because people all stream have been like, how are you just keeping your spirit meter max? And I'll show gameplay. This is how. On the weapon, you just want 4 beast damage perks. This is not perfect. If I could re-roll any of this, I would have overpower be core damage, but things like critical strike damage, vulnerability, critical strike damage from your skills, damage to slowed, damage to crowd controlled. I said core skill, right? Like any, you just want solid damage perks on your weapon. And this also has damage to healthy enemies, which will pair really well with that Paragon board that I had talked about. On the helm, you definitely want cooldown reduction, 100%. I think maximum life is always best in slot as well. And I like basic attack speed. I love it. I love it because you're swinging your basic attack all the time, and the faster that you can charge up your spirit, the better. On the chest piece, I think the best is to run 3 damage perks and 3 defense perks and 1 damage perk. So any sort of damage reduction, crowd control, werebear skill, earth skill, raw damage, because you always want to stack like damage, your damage stat, in this case willpower for druid, vulnerability, crit damage. Those are the things that you want to stack the most. On your gloves, for this build, lucky hit chance, crit strike chance. Those are necessary, and I have them both on here. along with another primary resource lucky hit. These are static roll, but if you weren't running temerity, you would just want some sort of like damage resistance, as much damage resistance as possible. On the boots, you want spirit cost reduction, which I think was the main thing. Well, I took some notes here. Yeah, spirit cost reduction, fortify generation, willpower, you know, things like that. But I do have poison resist as well. Oh, I didn't even realize that. Nice. I kept the poison resist. And then, so similar to my sorcerer build, I think rings are like, if I could pick the god roll ring, it would be crit chance, lucky hit chance, crit damage, and then a damage perk, preferably vulnerability. So you want crit chance, lucky hit chance, and then 2 damage perks. One of them, like I said, preferably crit damage or vulnerability. So I'm still working on getting the loot here. Both of mine have crit chance and lucky hit chance. We have damage to crowd controlled slow and damage to close enemies and earth skill, so they're not bad. And on the amulet, you want spirit cost reduction, cooldown reduction, and then there's some damage perks. What else did I take in my notes? Ranks to skills, earth skill damage, bear skill damage, you know, things like that, because you can stack some serious damage perks on here. I think there's even a damage reduction. So anytime you see damage reduction or a damage perk, they're always really good. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, we're level 70. We still have a lot of like this is still 540 item power. It's some of this gear is still really bad. 750. I mean, that's not great. We're still working on it. But you wanna definitely take a look at like, what is your lucky hit chance, you know? You want to get this as high as possible. Lucky hit spirit is really good for generation. You want to go up here and take a look at your crit strike chance. My crit strike chance is actually really good. I need to get my strike damage up. But yeah, that's pretty much the build. I am going to show gameplay for a video, and this is essentially just like infinite pulverized spam with spirit generation, and it's really fun. It's pretty basic, and it's kind of like one trick. I mean, you're essentially just running around and spamming your basic attack and then slamming the ground, and you're not really doing much else. So if you're looking for a really complex, diverse technical build, this is definitely not for you. But if you're looking for something where you can just be, as I called it before, boom boom monkey boy, and you just want to ape everything and face tank a bunch of damage and just be an absolute ape, just shut your brain off, this is the play. Monkey go boom. Slamming potions. Your boy is slamming down the pots.